Today's episode of the Cantina is brought to you by Grow Generation. Whether you're at the Death Star or the Senate, they have everything you need to grow right where you are. More from them later in the episode.
Welcome to a galaxy far, far away. Here at the Cantina Podcast, we provide top shelf service, including rumors, leaks, news, and reviews. Come in, order a Loman-Ale, and remember, no droids allowed. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Cantina Genreverse Podcast, the Genreverse Podcast Network's premiere and one and only exclusive Star Wars show. Maybe the Daily Cog will be back in the near future, where we can talk about Star Wars every now and then. But you can find us and lots more great podcasts covering everything in geek and entertainment at lrmonline.com. Wherever you get your podcast from, on any app, Google, Spotify, SoundCloud, and anything like that. And of course, the YouTube channel, Genreverse YouTube channel. So like, follow, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. I'm Kyle Malone at that Kyle Malone on Twitter, joined as usually by Cam Clark at LRM at LRM_Cam. And man, we've got a busy day for the first time in a while. Cam, we've got a varied plate, but of course we still have to talk some Kenobi.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, and you know, there's obviously Kenobi is the next one up, so there's kind of more news around about that. Some of it does get, as we were discussing kind of before we come on, a little bit spoilery as well.
Yes.
Maybe even just a little bit too spoilery. So we're kind of going to give you a warning before we cover any of that stuff, but we're not going to go into quite the level of detail that we've covered it in the written articles. Just so that if you do want more, we'll signpost where you can go and find that, the full information. But just in case people don't want to be kind of too spoiled for some of the stuff that happens in Kenobi. And there's been a lot of Mandalorian rumours as well this week, and a few other just little bits of news that have come up as well. So I suppose the best place to start is Obi-Wan Kenobi again, which is the kind of one we're all waiting on. I suppose the first story we should talk about is that Kathleen Kennedy's finally come out and spoken a little bit about why Obi-Wan Kenobi was rewritten. We all know that scripts were produced and they were ready to go. Those scripts were looked over by Jon Favreau, Dave Filoni, and we've heard Kevin Feige, though that's not confirmed by Kathleen Kennedy's words, and they had some issues with it, and the story, they decided to delay Obi-Wan Kenobi, and the scripts were basically rewritten by Joby Harold at that point. So Kennedy's talked a little bit about why that was the case, and she had said recently when she spoke to EW, and she said, we're looking ultimately to make a hopeful, uplifting story. And it's tricky when you're starting with a character in the state that Obi-Wan would be coming off of Revenge of the Sith. That's a pretty bleak period of time. You can't just wave the magic wand with any writer and arrive at a story that necessarily reflects what you want to feel. This was a character that's always been a minor obsession of mine, says Joby Harold. When I heard it was a character that we're exploring, I very aggressively told them all the things I thought they should do. And McGregor also says, which kind of comes on a little bit from some of the stuff we spoke about last week on Cantina. McGregor says that Obi-Wan is lost. He's a broken man after what happened to the Jedi Order at the end of episode 3, but also what happened with Anakin, that he lost him to the dark side, and he feels an enormous amount of responsibility for that and guilt. And again, from Joby Harold, said when we last saw Obi-Wan in the prequels, he's very emotional. There's a passion to him, and when we get to see him again in A New Hope, he's basically this Zen master. We were kind of talking about that a little bit last week, as if, you know, like, that's the art that we kind of want to see in this show, if you like, because Obi-Wan needs to have some kind of arc if he's the main character. That was the story I wanted to understand, says Harold. What happened to Obi-Wan between the guy that Ewan had brought to life and the guy that Alec Guinness brought to life as well? As for how much of the original plot made it into Obi-Wan Kenobi 2.0, Deborah Chow, who directed it, says we inherited some of it, but we did really make some significant changes in a few different elements as well. And Kennedy then goes on to talk about the debate about whether to use Darth Vader or not, and how it was something that they didn't just do lightly. They wanted to go big, but at the same time, they wanted to be very careful and make sure if they were doing this, they were doing it right and doing it for the right reasons. And this is something that you and I have spoke about before as well, and how that this show could be a minefield in terms of how you could affect the rest of the canon going forward. And it does have to be treated with a little bit of care and attention. Mm-hmm. So, interesting, obviously, official word from the people at Lucasfilm. So this is all stuff that they kind of want us to know going into it. In addition to kind of what was said there, we also heard a little bit of now when I wrote this piece up at first, I wouldn't have quite called it a rumour kill, because it came from THR, right, which is basically a trade. So normally when we tend to tag anything that's from a site like ourselves, Best Bulletin, John Mason, Making Star Wars, anything that's not a trade, basically, we'll say it's a Barside Buzz, it's a rumour, even though we absolutely trust these people. But it tends to be when you get news from trades, such as, when you get trades such as Deadline, THR, EW, Vanity
Variety,
Fair, Variety, their sources are just a higher tier ultimately, and they get a lot of stuff directly from the studios that they want to have leaked, that they want to put out there. There's lots of different things going on with this. Allegedly. And we know how trades work as well, is sometimes when they have a story, they're asked to sit on it, and that's how they get various exclusives and stuff like that as well. Sit in that story for us, but we'll give you an exclusive interview with Ewan McGregor for the or whatever they decide to do for a project. So that's how trades work, right? So THR this week had said that they had some information about why or some of the stuff that was actually cut from that original version of Obi-Wan Kenobi. What's interesting, though, is since we published that article, that Lucasfilm's Pablo Hidalgo has then come out and basically called this story bullshit, which you don't, again, I mean, trades get things wrong as well, but we're just saying this is a slightly unusual situation, not one that you would expect. Ultimately, THR basically says that Chow showed the scripts to Star Wars stewards Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, who are coming off the success of The Mandalorian. Sources note that Filoni and Favreau were concerned about Obi-Wan Kenobi, or Obi-Wan the show, covering similar ground as Mandalorian. Lone wolf, cub-like story of Kenobi coming out of hiding to protect a child-age Luke Skywalker. They also say Darth Maul was one of the villains who would have participated in the hunt for the pair. Vader was nowhere to be found in this faraway galaxy at this stage. According to those with knowledge of the project, also, Filoni and Favreau pushed Chow in the show to go bigger, according to several sources. In any case, those concerns made their way to Lucasfilm head Kathleen Kennedy, who pressed the pause button. Joby Harold was then brought in, the scripts were rewritten, and Darth Maul was no more. When I covered this at first, one of the things that I pointed out was this was not, the timing here is like June 2020, right, that we're talking. That's just after we heard and we reported that we had heard from our sources, not horses. That would be
it might be a horse. We don't know.
It could be. I've never met them. And yeah, basically our sources had said that Hart was out as a live-action Darth Maul because of the social media incident where supposedly, allegedly, did some revenge porn stuff or something like that.
Yeah,
it was all apparently some big accident, but we had heard that Lucasfilm weren't too happy with that and kind of pushed them out at that point. We had also heard that, and I've had other sources confirm this as well from different outlets, that there was supposed to be some kind of sequel to Solo developed, which would have been live action and concentrated in Maul, Kira, all that sort of stuff. And that seems to have become potentially what we've heard, not from our sources, but other people who have heard stuff like this, and they've heard that it could have become an animated project instead.
Essentially, yeah.
So, I kind of thought, well, maybe there is kind of some truth to that. However, Pablo Hidalgo then comes
Enter
out.
the holocron.
Yeah, and he put a post, and it's a private post, so you can only see it like if he allows you to follow him. But the people at Star Wars Newsnet took a picture of it and posted it up, and so we've grabbed it and we've put it up on our piece as well. And basically, Pablo says this was discussing films coverage of the same story, but it came from the THR source, all right? And he says a brown sun rises, bullshit has been spilled, which is quite funny.
Yes.
But, he's basically saying that Darth Maul was not in the original plans for Obi-Wan Kenobi. So, bit of a strange one, this. I have to say, it doesn't make much, and you can chip in on this as much as you want, Kel. It doesn't make too much sense for me for Maul to have been in this, considering that Maul's end with Kenobi has already been filmed, but just in animated form as part of Rebels. And that was kind of like the end of Maul's story, and he's dead after that, ain't coming back dead. He's probably buried in a shallow grave next to Obi-Wan's hut.
Yeah.
At this point, so he's gone, and for then him to have a few years earlier have been chasing after Obi-Wan Kenobi for some reason, I kind of don't really get it. I don't get he's not a Sith anymore. He's kind of a gangster at that period in time. Would he maybe think, I'll go after Obi-Wan for revenge? Maybe if he came across him, but
this to me. It just proves that Pablo Hidalgo said it best. The canon's whatever it needs to be. This proves to me that the writing room, the big ideas, not necessarily the individuals on the ground level, but enough people either don't know Star Wars history, don't know Rebels, don't know Clone Wars, or they just don't care. That you get so many stories that basically when it came down to it, they really said, well, Obi-Wan's only got like two bad guys left. He can't go after the Emperor, of course. So Maul or Vader, people. We got to do a Obi-Wan movie at the time before it became a series allegedly, and allegedly that movie script was just broken down and fleshed out into the first set of scripts. Allegedly,
that's what the rumor was. Yep.
But in my mind, I was always like, the Empire should be in the background and on his tail, but he didn't need to face off against someone from his past. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I honestly, it feels like a lot of Disney is just void of ideas. I mean, who thought it would be a good idea to keep, even though Pablo's saying that it wasn't.
Yeah, and I should
there.
point out as well that in the article from THR, he says another source of his from Lucasfilm also debunked it and said it wasn't true. So, he's got two different sources telling him different things as well. So this may just be wrong.
But even the Vader aspect of it, and even if Maul was ruled out because of Rebels and stuff, they still are walking a razor thin line with Vader leading into episode 4.
But at the same time,
so I was going to say you don't need Obi-Wan Kenobi to deal with a demon from his past, because he's about to, in a few more years, deal with that demon from his past, and he's going to deal with it once and for all. Legitimately, and I'm not against it, because it could end up looking cool and it could be great. We're getting the big Vader Obi-Wan showdown for one reason only: eye candy. That's it. Yeah, that's it. Like, we already know the results. There's no major bodily harm to Obi-Wan Kenobi. There's no as a matter of fact, it seems like he becomes a better person, better suited for his job after this match. The big culmination, the ultimate thing about Obi-Wan and Anakin happens in episode 4. So we're walking this razor thin line just to get some eye candy. When in reality, the best thing to have done would have been to give the Inquisitors are great. The straggler Jedi keep people away from Tatooine. All of that's fucking golden, and what I would have liked from an Obi-Wan Kenobi thing. I'm even open to the idea of Clone Wars flashbacks, so you could bring in Hayden, but we didn't need either Vader, and definitely didn't need Maul, because again his ultimate showdown comes in Rebels.
Makes sense. I think with Vader, if they're using it in the right way, as not, right, okay, that's why we want to have it, because it's eye candy. There's no doubt about that. And I think the other reason is that there's so little opportunity for them to do much else with Vader live action, and he's the Star Wars character, and he's dead in the future, and his stories, the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy, if you like, but Vader himself is the OT. So there's not a lot you can do with him while he's Vader, and this kind of gives you an excuse, because it's something that Vader would kind of sit up and take notice of if there's somehow a chance that he can get Obi-Wan Kenobi. It all depends on how they put it together. If it all feels earned, if it feels as if Obi-Wan needed to go through that process to get to the Obi-Wan that we see later on, so that by the time he does face Anakin Vader again, he is the Zen master who's willing to just let it go to give his life for Luke, But I guess the proof will be in the pudding when it comes to that. I mean, we just need to wait and see how they put it together. But yeah, I'm not even sure if this did happen now. I mean, it just doesn't seem super solid, does it? Even for a trade report. So unless something else comes out, I think we just have to call it a sketchy rumor for it at the moment.
Yeah, and if it turned out that it never made it to paper because they were like, this is going to happen in Rebels, and I don't even know what season or year the Kenobi and Maul stuff was written in Rebels versus the first treatment of the script being touched. Oh no! But regardless, they're saying it wasn't ever in the works, but. I think it kind of goes back to that old thing. It was dumb for Lucas to kill Maul off in the first movie, in episode 1. Was it because Dooku was pretty cool, even though and he kind of carries right through, but no, because they wanted to do so much with him that you bring him back with robot spider legs before getting bipedal again, and listen, I
was one of those people that when I heard that they had brought Maul back for various different animated projects, I was just like eye roll. He get chopped in half and fell down a shaft. I mean, even then when I look at it, it's not as if it doesn't matter that he fell down the shaft because it was only half of him, so he would just bounce slightly at the bottom. I mean, the top half of his body would have still all over whatever the bottom of that shaft was. It wasn't a small shaft.
Man.
He's not surviving that. He's just not surviving. You don't get chopped in half and survive, sorry. But, it's Star Wars. Palpatine bloody survived, so somehow Palpatine returned. So, I guess we get Maul as well. However, then I actually enjoyed the art they give Darth Maul in the cartoons after that, because I think the performance is better from Sam Witwer for a start. It just feels like a more rounded character rather than just because but Darth Maul to me is just a stunt guy with a lightsaber. I don't see any acting from Ray Park and the Phantom Menace other than physical.
Because he wasn't. He didn't even do the voice. The voice is someone else too, isn't it?
But, kind of an animated we have in Sam Witwer, he's just doing the voice again, but then, they just give him a better personality. He's a character that's dealing with the aftermath of basically being rejected by his master because, Palpatine ain't too happy that he's alive, because that's somebody out there that's a potential threat to him, and he's got, at this point, depending on when we're talking about when he appears in the Clone Wars, he's got obviously Dooku as his new apprentice. Dooku doesn't want Maul coming anywhere So they're kind of, let's kill this guy very quickly. And then even later on, when the Empire's in its pomp, there's Darth Vader, and I don't think Maul's stupid enough to try and take on Vader at any point. So, at the end of the day, he actually gets his ass kicked by Obi-Wan Kenobi really easily in Rebels. Yeah. But, that's just because, Obi-Wan's been learning all these years, and that you kind of get the feeling that Maul's went back the way in that time. But yeah, I don't think it just wasn't a good idea, whether it was true or not, is my take on it. And hopefully, fingers crossed, it'll be better than what it was. Should we give a spoiler warning?
Yeah. Hey, we're gonna talk about some spoilers. The articles at lrmonline.com. I'm gonna put it up on screen. So we're gonna talk a bit. So if you're listening on audio, you might not see all of the context. But I'm not going to show the whole article. I'll let Cam kind of walk us
you're
through,
free to read all the details, either our coverage of it on lrmonline.com or
look in the
this is information that came from MSW and Best Bin Bulletin, so you can always go directly to the source. Those guys over there and read the articles they wrote as well for the full. And
in the chapters, I know some podcasts apps allow chapters, and on YouTube the spoiler chapters will be marked. So yeah. Anyways, Cam, go ahead, bud.
Right. So when it comes to spoilers, I think my job is that sometimes I have to cover spoilers, right? And I don't necessarily always like to do it. We ourselves have released leaks and inside information before from some of our sources, but I think there's something about, there's this guy's in it, this character's in it, There'll be, like we said, there'll be 2 fights between Vader and Obi-Wan. That's kind of like giving you a little bit of information, but without giving you everything. So you get to then speculate on why would that happen and all that sort of stuff. What these set of leaks do is basically goes into these 2 fights between Vader and gives us some context as to why they fight twice and what the end result of that is, and Obi-Wan's state of mind, and even some cameo appearances. So one of the things we've talked about previously, there was a rumour that Qui-Gon Jinn is back, and these rumours confirm that Qui-Gon Jinn would be, if they're true, from certainly MSW, this was that Qui-Gon Jinn will be in, and not just as a voice, and Obi-Wan Kenobi. Liam Neeson must have done some work on it. But the leaks go into explaining exactly why and where Qui-Gon returns, and what the purpose of it is, and why that's important, where it happens within the series, and how it's connected to both fights that happen between Vader and Obi-Wan. So MSW confirms there is 2 fights between Obi-Wan and Vader.
Yeah. With that, Qui-Gon Jinn, I'll say this about it. What they're doing with it is, and this isn't a comment on necessarily time, but just importance. There's a lot more to it, to him, than I think either one of us thought that would be likely. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because I think when we think about Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're thinking about the Obi-Wan of Alec Guinness, and we're only halfway there at this point. This is what we were talking about last week, that Obi-Wan, if you have a main character in the show, they can't go through no development, they can't have no arc, they can't just start the same as they ended. And we know that what Obi-Wan is supposed to be doing is learning to communicate with Qui-Gon so that he can carry on his training, learn to become a Force ghost, and become that Zen master that we all know from A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, so on and so forth. So it seems as if that is the development that he's going through, and that does seem to be, as you said, Kel, connected to how and where Qui-Gon appears within this show. And I think we'll maybe just not say any more than that on it. We'll say that it's been confirmed by another source now that Vader and Obi-Wan fight twice. If you want to know some actual details about what happens in both of those fights and the locations that they happen within the Star Wars universe, that is there. Feel free to, as I said, either check that out on lrmonline.com, but didn't come from us, so have to name the sources as being MSW and mostly MSW actually, and a little bit of stuff here and there for some of the stuff we'll talk about later on to do from Breastbin Bulletin as well.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm getting fed up at the amount of spoilers out there. Like,
yeah,
this
might seem strange coming from a site that actually covers them, but
right. But it's kind of like how you were explaining earlier. When we decide on what we should or what we can. We get what we can leak, and then we go with what should we after that. So and it's not so much that I'm like, oh man, it's all ruined. I've been doing this now for 3 years. I'm used to being ruined from the inside, not just externally, but it's getting to the point now where you almost feel bad for the filmmakers and showrunners, the writers, the team. Think about what that internet thing going around a while ago, that Charlie Cox was in a theater to see No Way Home, and the theater was near silent for his cameo. Mm-hmm. My theater erupted, but just the idea that expectations can be tempered so much that it affects the people that created it. That's getting annoying. It's one thing to say, hey, Vader's gonna show up for a fight twice, versus, oh, but by the way, this major plot story element, here's not just the physical scene description. Here's why it's happening, and the mentality behind it, and the I don't know, no man, that's a bit too much.
It is a bit too much. It's almost like it's like if somebody said to me, well, I'll give you 5 moments from the script to speculate on, or I'll give you the script to read. I would take the 5 moments, because I don't really want to read the script before it comes out. I think what I would say is, this is just maybe a difference in what LRM Online is as a site compared to what, for example, Making Star Wars MSW is as a site. I mean, basically, their entire makeup is spoilers. It's a self-published site. The editor-in-chief basically owns the site and writes most of the articles for it. They have known to have had sources in the past, and ultimately they get exposure and money, which they try to make a living out of this. I get it, by spoiling information. That's not really how we work. Our main, if you notice what most of our content is, yes, we cover all the rumours, but most of ours is actually interviews, discussions, actual official stuff that we get. And I think we end up running more interviews than probably any other site, because our interviewers will just speak to anybody about anything that they want to promote, really, and we're really not picky that way. And that's really where our kind of bread and butter as a site is: opinions, reviews, official news stories, but we do cover the rumours as well. That's kind of my area, if you like, and then Kel kind of gets into it, obviously, in the podcasting side of things. And if it was me and I knew, if I knew that level of information, my sort of, I would hold back specifically, because we know that that Shockey knows more information than you and I do at times, and he doesn't tell us because he doesn't want it spoils stuff for us, and it's not stuff we want to put out there. He tells us the stuff that hey guys, we can cover this. But that's not to say that's all he knows about it.
I'm a risk, because my brain isn't the best. Sometimes I've said it multiple times. I've said it multiple times. I don't know what I'm allowed to say or not, so I'm just shutting up.
Yeah, we tell you what you can say and what you can't, but sometimes he forgets. But yeah, I mean, that's just a difference in the way we're working. So if it was me, I think I would, if I wasn't doing this job, I would probably not be going to MSW for the kind of stuff that they're producing right now, which is very, very detailed, like story beats from the shows. At the same time, though, nothing against them at all for doing it, because, as I said, that's at the end of the day, that's what that site's about. And there is a fan base out there. Absolutely, there's a fan base out there, either that just can't not be tempted to go and look. There's that. But there's also people who genuinely say that they prefer knowing the stuff going in. I don't get it myself, but there is people out there that genuinely would rather read a script for a movie before they go and see it, for example, or rather know all the plot beats from the show before they watch it, because I've seen people online explain they feel it helps them enjoy the show better. They don't like anticipating and wondering about stuff, which to me is a big part of it. And I kind of feel like, for example, when we come to review Obi-Wan Kenobi, we want to speculate. We want to be like, Kyle wants to have, you want to have opinions, and this is where I think they're doing this for this reason, and I'll have maybe a different opinion, and that's the fun part of it for us, is to speculate on what comes next.
Water cooler
and
talk.
the more detailed spoilers we get, it becomes hard to do that, because we're not theorising anymore. We're kind of just saying, well, we've been told this is going to happen, and it's not. And we had a similar situation with this, actually, from MSW again, for all the bad robot films, actually, in the sequel trilogy. And so I know that the latest Star Wars shows have been very secretive, and we haven't had a whole lot about them. But I mean, the Rise of Skywalker, I knew the entire plot.
Oh yeah,
every aspect of the Rise of Skywalker before I ever saw it, which worried me greatly, because at the time I remember just saying, I know sometimes you just don't know until you watch a movie if they can pull it off, but I just couldn't see how they could possibly pull this off, and I was right. But yeah, I mean, that was just all out there. For me, it's too much. But for those of you that just I'll give me spoilers, I want them. There's plenty of stuff out there that you can go and find now. But if you're kind of someone that likes to teeter in the edge a little bit like us, but have some room for your imagination to work as well, just be careful what you're reading. Everything that's on our site is certainly spoiler tagged, and as I said, we could have went into this in far more detail within the podcast, and we kind of chose not to.
Yeah.
Anyway,
we are going to choose to take a quick word from our sponsors, Grow Generation.
Grow Generation, where the pros go to grow. Grow Generation is your one-stop shop for hydroponic grow supplies, product systems, and more. Grow Generation serves customers across the nation and carries a wide inventory of renowned cultivation brands. Go to www.growgeneration.com, where the pros go to grow.
Time is like the one thing that I hated people taking from me. Like, I could spend forever in my room when I was a kid, but as soon as my parents grounded me to my room, not take anything out of it, just you can't leave, then it's like the only thing I wanted to do was get out of it. But anyways, rapid fire. No, not rapid fire yet. But let's move on over to the Mandalorian, man.
Yeah. So again, this potential spoiler warning. There's some stuff here which is reported. Basically, most of the time for Mando, we don't get to find out what's going on because it's shot in the volume. However, they've been shooting some location stuff recently for Mando Season 3, and wouldn't you know it, all the details of that are really starting to come out. And this has come again from MSW and a little bit more Bespin Bulletin this time as well. And the kind of two of them have been bouncing off each other, if you like, in terms of what they know and kind of putting it together. The first kind of part of this that came out was there was some images which we certainly have not put in the site because I don't know who they belong to, and I don't want to get copyrighted or anything like that. But there was some shots appeared in the ether of the internet which showed some Mandalorian-looking red Praetorian Guard types helmets, and this kind of leads into that apparently there's some Mandalorian-looking Praetorian Guards somewhere that Mando and co come across in the Mandalorian Season 3. sites like Bespin Bulletin had theorised maybe this is pushing towards Snoke territory, knowing that that's something that they might be leading up to try and explain the First Order. However, there was a later report that came, again from Bespin and MSW bouncing off each other. And it kind of put a bit more detail into it. And I'm not going to go into it again and too much, but basically this is apparently scenes that happen within the season finale of The Mandalorian, and it talks about there's a lot of characters on what they think is Mandalore in the mines of Mandalore, and you know what is going on, which characters appear there, etc., Din Djarin and all that sort of stuff. I'm not going to go into that in too much detail. Again, if you want to know all the details on that, feel free to either check it on lrmonline.com, go to MSW or Bespin Bulletin. Actually, Bespin have got a really good one that kind of covered all MSWs and their stuff together, which is kind of what I pulled from to put ours together. So, you know, feel free to go and check that out. However, there was, I think, quite an interesting rumour that came out, which is kind of in our area to discuss a little bit more, and that's Grogu in Mandalorian Season 3. And apparently, Grogu may be getting a mech suit for Season 3. So, what we're hearing is, and this comes from MSW, they're saying that basically Baby Yoda, Grogu, gets some Beskar armour at some point in the story, but they're also saying that he's inside some sort of IG-11 mech suit. So it's like an IG-11, but he get melted, so it's probably not him. And they're saying it's basically like it can talk to Grogu and all that sort of stuff and tell him, you know, the odds for things that he's trying to do. But Grogu is actually controlling the suit and is able to therefore be more active, kind of walking about with Mando, etc., and even gets into some fight type situations as well. That's what they're saying.
Some General Grievous type shit I can see with robot lightsaber and stuff.
I mean, I guess it's, you know, he's not going to really grow much bigger, is he? You know, I mean, he's going to grow maybe Yoda size, but that's still not very big. And you always have that issue of what to do with a character of that size to make them in any way threatening. So putting them in sort of some cool suit and making them almost like a foundling Mandalorian or something like that isn't such a bad idea, but of course we'll see how it all pans out.
How it looks,
certainly there was a few
how it's executed.
Of our readers thought it sounded terrible. Like a lot of our comments when we covered that article, people were like, "This sounds awful. This is MCU."
It could
Star
be
Wars
very bad, but it could also work. It could work. It fits
when they
the
said,
universe.
When we heard that they were bringing back the Naboo starfighter, I thought, what? Why? You know, and I still have queries as to how he's going to do any bounty hunting in that because there's nowhere to store anybody. But actually,
put in some tow
kind of
tractor.
They hot rodded it and kind of made it cool, and I quite liked it. So you know, there's that. So
yeah,
and have to wait and see.
It fits the universe. I just it could come off really silly, and one of those things. Good. While I know George said later on, after 4 and 5 that Star Wars is for kids, he made it all ages. 4 and 5 and most of 6 is all ages. Yes, other things were more geared towards kids, but I don't like how much Disney Lucasfilm has been targeting Star Wars for 10-year-olds. Like, not just with 10-year-olds in mind, but for 10-year-olds. And that's my only fear is that this could tiptoe towards that too much. But hopefully it's good. If it's the world, it could,
just have to wait and
work.
see. I mean, so far I've been impressed with everything that Jon Favreau's and Dave Filoni's been kind of involved in the exec producer side of things. So I think we have to give them a bit of faith at this point to see where they go with season 3. I think season 2 for me was an improvement on season 1 of Mando, and we'll wait and see what happens come that time.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think we need to go into those kind of spoilers any more than that, because there is quite a lot of detail in there about the season finale, and I don't like talking about a season finale before we even know how we got to that season finale in the first place. So it's really hard to have, like, if this leak had come out the week before the season finale, you'd probably go, oh, this all makes sense, and you can put the pieces together, but kind of don't know, and there's therefore a lot of missing context, in my opinion. So tread with care is all I will say to those that do decide to go and look for these things, but it's there if you want it. Some non-rumours to finish off with, Kyle? Do you fancy some just general news stories?
General
news. I guess this one's kind of a rumour, and Bespin and Bilton were saying that they think Andor is going to be out in August. I'm not sure. It's not quite this kind of does make sense. Given how they tend to work these slates, when Obi-Wan Kenobi's coming in August, I would say end of August kind of sounds like a day that a month that we could see Andor appearing, but I certainly wouldn't. I wouldn't go out and put money on that and bet on it, because with any kind of releases, and especially on streaming, until they announce it officially, until they say this is the date and the official posters come out and the trailer saying the date, everything like we got for Obi-Wan Kenobi, you just don't know.
And they could always change it at the last minute, like Spider-Man No Way Home got released a whole week early digitally because someone leaked it all already, and they could push the button and get it out
themselves. That's a kind of Sony thing, though, isn't it? Sony like to do that. I think they like to mess with leakers for some reason. I don't know why. I couldn't see, I think Disney would have bigger fish to fry than proving a leaker wrong or something like that. But the rumours about Obi-Wan where we think it's coming in May, and then it ended up coming in May. I guessed that. I thought May 25th. It ended up it was coming in May 25th, but it wasn't inside information. It was just common sense. And common sense. I would, if I had to bet, I would have probably put August, September for Andor anyway. So if Bespin's hearing from their sources that it's August, then that kind of makes sense to me. And until we hear any different, that's what will be in the back of my head anyway.
Yeah.
And then last,
the director.
We've got an interesting rumour that Damon Lindelof is going to be directing, or certainly working on a Star Wars movie. Sorry, that's from anyone that watches Toast of Tinseltown. According to Jeff Snyder, who used to work for Collider, but now is his own thing called The Ankler, which is horrible name for a website. But anyway, that's not for me to say. And he's basically put a social media post out saying, exclusive via The Ankler, I'm hearing that Damon Lindelof, the creator of Watchmen and co-creator of Lost and The Leftovers, is working on a new Star Wars movie. Subscribe now. Interesting, because I rate Lindelof. When it comes to the TV projects he's worked on, a lot of people, actually, when I said in my piece that I really like Lost, there was a lot of people that said, oh, it's horrible, it's the worst show that's ever been made. I just don't, people say like they didn't explain anything, and I just don't get it I thought that after my first watch, but after the second watch, to me, it was like everything was explained, I understood it all, so I just don't get where people are coming from with that. But I think Lost, actually, if people gave it a chance and watched it again now, they would see that although they never gave them all the answers spoon-fed, like you would expect in those days, that the answers are actually there. And then The Leftovers is a good show as well. And I think, did anybody not like Watchmen, the show that he did recently? I mean, the Emmy Award winning Watchmen. absolutely fantastic show. 100%. You know, definitely won probably the show of the year last year. If it was it last year or was it 2020? I can't remember now.
I don't know. This is
Lockdown's
This is 2020 version 2.1. So
yeah,
we'll
I
see.
guess it's all just the same. You know, it was maybe pre.
It was before
the dark times.
Before Russia and Ukraine.
It was definitely before Russia and Ukraine. Yeah,
that's the new time.
Before
timeline
World War III.
Yep.
Before the Great Plague. But not that long ago. Anyway, that Watchmen was out, and we all loved it, and it won awards and everything like that. So that definitely interests me. The only time I've seen one of his movies was Prometheus, which was.
I liked the first one. I liked Prometheus. I didn't like Covenant.
Well, no, Covenant was shit.
Yeah.
But Prometheus had some issues with it as well. Everybody was just stupid in Prometheus. That was the problem. You know, there was just everybody just did stupid things that are for the sake of the plot. It didn't feel like a Lindelof project to me, but you know,
it felt real bit big, and I liked.
Maybe it was his chance to direct a film, and you know, he was like, "This is what we want." He had to kind of work with the studio a little bit more than maybe what his own ideas that he wanted to go with. Who knows? But I think after the success of Watchmen, his stock has risen. Do you know what I mean? And I'd definitely be excited to find out if he was making a Star Wars movie. But where and when will this Star Wars movie materialise if it's true? Because we have still got Rogue Squadron dated for December 23. They haven't took that off officially yet. We don't know if it will happen. We have a Star Wars movie dated for December 25 and a third one for December 27. We don't know what those films are necessarily beyond the Rogue Squadron one, but we think 25 is Taika Waititi's Star Wars movie that he has confirmed he is making.
He's directing
He's directing it, but he's co-writing it with another writer as well. Sorry, the lady's name escapes me right now. I apologise to that person.
Feige is a producer for a Star Wars movie.
Correct. So
allegedly.
we think that the 27 one, but it might not be, as the Kevin Feige movie. But we have to be clear that Kevin Feige has confirmed that at some point he is going to be producing a Star Wars movie. But we don't know about any talent attached to that. So theoretically, Lindelof could be who Feige brought in to make his Star Wars movie. I'm not saying that is the case, but it's possible.
Could Lindelof be brought in a producer role for Taika by chance, or a producer role for Rogue?
It's possible, but Lindelof's more writer, director.
I
don't see him really producer as such. You know, I think if he was going to do Star Wars, he'd want it to be what his ideas are. And Taika would want the same thing himself.
You would guess just based off of what we do know, the puzzle piece looks to fit with Feige, but they could have something else.
It could be something else that they change the slate completely, you know, and it's something else that comes up, or this could be something after that. It could be something that, you know, is actually many, many years away still. You know, it could be 4 or 5 years still away before we get whatever this Lindelof project is. So we genuinely don't know, and there's no other information in any of the kind of posts to say it. No one since then has come out and said, "Oh, here's like a bit more information on that Lindelof project." There's certainly no one I follow has. Somebody's watching this and I covered that. Give me a shout, because I've not seen anything online about it yet. So I think we just have to wait and see in this one. But I like the idea; it excites me. But at the same time, you know, until something more official comes out, it's hard to know what and where or when this is all going to come together.
Anyways, I know what's coming together now, and that's us wrapping up this show.
Yep.
Guys, check out lrmonline.com every day for all of your entertainment news needs and opinions. Like Cam said earlier, you know, we've been around for a long time, and our main gig is writing news articles, opinion pieces, and then interviews available at the LRM online YouTube channel. also, you can click on any of the stuff here on the website and reach the interviews or the podcast. Podcasts available wherever you get your podcast from. I've got Spotify up here just because it's one of the biggest platforms out there. Animeverse reviews, doing Sabikui Bisco right now. Breaking Geek Radio, they got a couple of movies they'll be reviewing this week, and they always cover news and trailers as well. Cantina's doing Star Wars news. Marvel Multiverse Mayhem finally got to record their second movie night. That'll hopefully be up in the next 4 or 5 days. And then there's a chance the Daily Cup of Genre will be making a triumphant return with a former co-host, and God hoping my wife can get more than one decent day in a row and come back as well. But all those are available on our YouTube channel. Hit the red subscribe button there. I also do genre shots, little short videos, usually trailer reactions or something like that. So you can find those on the YouTube channel as well as all the podcasts. And I'm at that Kyle Malone on Twitter. If you want to, say anything, throw anything my way, ideas or whatnot, or just you're awful person, Kyle. Cool. Cam, you can tell them about what we're looking for at the website.
You can reach me at LRM_Cam, as Kel said it at the start of the show as well. But, we are absolutely looking for more volunteers to come in and eventually maybe even, once you work up to it, there's possibility of even getting some money. But what we're really looking for is people with strong opinions that want to write stuff on the site, whether it's covering a news story for a genre that they are very interested in, or the stuff that we talk about, Star Wars, Marvel, DC, the kind of big hitters. There's too many for us to cover everything, so there's absolutely room for other people to come in, and especially if you've got strong opinions on certain aspects, then that's the kind of thing that there might be other people out there like you. So give us a shout. You can there's details on the website about if you are interested in all that. We do run articles every now and again, but there's details that you can find on the site about how to contact us officially as well, through our main kind of accounts. And why not come and, if you don't know how to write, we'll help you learn. But if you already think you're a good writer, that's kind of half the battle that we're looking for as well. That's how I started. That's how Kyle started as well, and probably everybody else that really, or most of the people that work for LRM at the moment, all started just coming in, volunteering and learning the ropes and building it from there. So
tell you what our owner tells us, the site's here to help the contributors build their own brand. So if you're looking for to build I don't know if it's called a portfolio in writing, but like a reel, a demo reel, a portfolio, a folder of publications. Why not start here? We're giving you guys the platform, anything and everything in geek and entertainment, news, pop culture. So yeah, that it, Cam?
Yep, that's us.
All right, guys. Till next time. May the force be with you.